is 6 o'clock, and we will now reconvene our meeting. Certification of resolution of compliance, please.
Motion on certification of proceedings. I move that the closed meeting was conducted in conformity with the provisions of Virginia Freedom of Information Act as required by Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, and certify that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Okay, motion carried. This time I want to welcome everyone to our first school board meeting for the year 2021. And at this time, I would like to ask our new Vice Chair, Denise Tynes, to lead us in the pledge and the moment of silence.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, it is time for our Isle of Wight Achievers.
Good evening. The vision for Isle of Wight County Schools is to create a learning environment that will enable every child to discover his or her unique gifts and talents. The Isle of Wight Achievers section of our board meeting gives us an opportunity to recognize and celebrate our students and staff for their unique talents and gifts. First, I'd like to introduce somebody that's new sitting up here tonight. Each year, the school board welcomes 2 student liaisons, and the selection of the new liaison from Smithfield High School was delayed due to the pandemic, but we are delighted to be able to welcome the Smithfield High liaison at tonight's meeting. Neely Harris, who's sitting down here in the end, can give everybody a wave, Neely is a junior at Smithfield High School, where she is student government president, student council vice president, and business editor for the yearbook. She serves as a freshman mentor and is currently participating in the Isle of Wight Chamber of Commerce Student Leadership Institute. She is also active in her church. Please join me in welcoming Neely Harris to the school board as the Smithfield High School School Board Liaison. Our next achievers actually are not with us tonight. Our seniors of the month, because we have schools closed for 2 weeks, we didn't want to have them come in person. We are going to recognize them in person at the February meeting, but we did want to announce who they are. From Windsor High School, our senior of the month for January is Alex Judah. Alex is an exceptionally bright student who's not afraid to jump into a class discussion to share his thoughts. He's always up to date on his assignments, and he has been dutiful during this difficult time and remaining eminently conscientious about his work. Quote, he's a very pleasant student and always has a smile. You can tell even with his mask on because his smile reaches his eyes. That's from Mrs. Presson. And Alex will be pursuing a 4-year university degree once he finishes at Windsor High School. And our Smithfield Senior of the Month is Chris Gundy. Chris has been offered the opportunity to play football while attending the Naval Academy next year. He's always been a standout student who pushes himself both on the football field and in the classroom. I'm so proud of what he's accomplished in his 4 years, and that's from Margaret Challen, his science teacher at Smithfield High. So we congratulate both Alex and Chris for their accomplishments and for being our January Seniors of the Month, and we will have them here in person along with our February Seniors of the Month next month. So why don't we go ahead and give them a quick round of applause, please. So our last recognition is from SSC. Okay, so each month SSC recognizes one of their employees with a special award. So tonight, yep, come on up.
Hello.
Hello.
Everyone, this is Ashley Lee. She is the lead at Westside Elementary School. She's going to be awarded the Gym Award, and I wanted to go over some of the things that some of the staff members as well as the principals have to say about it. Good morning. I wanted to let you know that an amazing job Ashley here at Westside Elementary is doing. Even when she first started here, she always has a smile, knows everyone by name, and just gives a lot of warmth. She is quick to help anytime I need something, and always is very appreciative when I have done something to help her. We are always quick to identify the problems, so I wanted to make sure I acknowledge the good. This is from Sharon Chapman. I just wanted to send you a quick note to tell you what a wonderful job Ashley has been doing. She is always cheery with a positive attitude and is always willing to help. That's from Catherine McGowan. I would like to recognize Ashley, who always makes sure the clinic bathroom is clean, doors is wiped down. Ashley went above and beyond to make sure the clinic was being cleaned properly, even though she was no longer assigned to clean it. She has a great attitude and brightens my day. Michelle Harris. I just wanted to let you know how great of a job Miss Ashley is doing. She is a very hard worker and a very personable co-worker. Please let her know I am happy to have her here as part of the team. Go Eagles. Iris McAllister. I would like to give a huge shout out to Miss Ashley. She is friendly, professional, and a hard worker. We love having her here at Westside. Todd Christensen, Miss Kimberly St. George, and Miss Tony Brown echo that. And so, Miss Ashley, I'm going to give you the award.
And that concludes Achievers for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next on the agenda is request to speak.
Okay, our first speaker is going to be Miss Marie Miguel. Real quick before you start. The citizens' comments procedures in accordance to policy BDDHE. Citizens scheduled on the agenda to speak will be permitted 5 minutes maximum time for their presentation. Delegations will be requested to limit their speakers to 2. Persons speaking are asked to be specific, state the issues for the board's consideration, and attach a copy of your prepared remarks. If you have prepared remarks, they should be given to the board clerk. Do not approach the board members. The school board requests that speakers refrain from making references to specific individuals and that any matter related to specific students or individuals be discussed in a closed meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I wanted to come today because I have some concerns regarding the COVID hybrid learning plan that's been going on here in Isle of Wight. I'd like to start by saying that I understand that we are in a situation that no school system could ever plan for. And I understand that decisions are made sometimes in 24 hours, and I do understand that and respect you all for the decisions that you're making in that environment. And I also understand that there are forces outside of you all that determine the decisions you make. My concern is not the quality of instruction. For the most part, I've been very pleased with the instruction that my child has been getting here at Isle of Wight through his teachers. And I feel that the teachers have given very clear expectations as to what is expected of them, and I know that they are doing as well as they can in the situation that they're in. My concern, however, is the amount of instruction. Isle of Wight County School students, since the beginning of school, have had instruction 3 days per week, and since they've moved to hybrid, it's been 2 days per week. The other 2 or 3 days are independent work, which is not a problem, but I've noticed, at least in terms of my experience with my child, that the independent work is more catch up on what you didn't do yesterday, as opposed to new work. And Fridays, because Wednesday is the independent work, is also an independent work day, but again, in my experience, there's very rarely anything assigned on Fridays. And while I understand that virtual learning is not ideal, the assignments that, again, my child is receiving don't seem to warrant that much extra time to get them done. They are quality assignments, but they're not that time consuming. In looking through the learning plans of 10 surrounding districts, both large and small, we are the only ones with such limited live instruction. Almost all other districts are doing 4 days per week, with 1 day per week for one-on-one work with a teacher, and several are doing 5 days per week with office hours built in daily. My concern is twofold. One, how are the students of Isle of Wight going to possibly learn what they need to learn to move forward to the next grade or the next class? I fear that important topics are being glossed over or skipped in an effort to just get it done. That is all well and good, but what happens next year when they get to the next level of a course and something was skipped? While I know this will be expected, why make next year's job even harder for the teachers and the students? Also, AP students, who normally have 5 days, 90 minutes to go through curriculum, are now trying to fit the same amount of information in less time. But the AP test is not going to lessen its expectations. Second, what happens when they do finally go back to school? They're going to shift from 45 minutes 3 days a week to 90 minutes 5 days a week. For students that are struggling or don't like school, that drastic change is going to make it even more difficult. The transition back is going to be hard enough. Why make it harder? It seems to me that in an effort to make it easier for staff, parents, and students, Isle of Wight has sent our students and our teachers down a much more difficult path than necessary. I know this move forward and next semester decisions are still being made as to what exactly it will look like, and there are many unknowns and decisions have to be made quickly. My hope is, however, that as we move into next semester, if we are to continue virtual and hybrid learning, Isle of Wight will consider the drawbacks of its current plan and consider to restructure and consider increasing the number of days students are in school. I want my son and all students in Isle of Wight to be successful.
1 minute.
And right now, I don't feel the plan is in place is ultimately going to allow for that success. The current structure will hurt them more than the pandemic already has. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, what was your last name, ma'am?
Miguel?
Miguel? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Mrs. Renee Dial.
Hi, Board. My name is Renee Dahl. I kind of will piggyback off of the previous parent, not knowing she was going to discuss some of the same things that I had concerns about. But I'm growing completely frustrated with the lack of, let's start off by these holidays. My kids are on the A student, they're on the A day. They have already missed at least 4 weeks where they only went to school 1 day a week. I asked, 2 days were for unforeseen weather issues that we can't help. Others have been holidays. I am so frustrated with the no answer on holidays. If none of the kids are here on Friday, why can y'all not schedule holidays? Most of the holidays are on Monday. So just like MLK Day, why can it not be on Friday? Y'all did it for Columbus Day. What's different? And then February 1st and 2nd. I don't understand why you can't make changes in an existing schedule to accommodate the kids. So what's going to happen is, what I've been told, nobody's progressing. So my kids get 1 day, which come up on Monday. My kids won't be back to school till Wednesday. So they've been out since Christmas. My mom's doing the best she can, because me and my husband work full-time jobs. I just came off a 10-hour shift. I'm a PA at Centera. I don't have the time when I get off of work at 6:30, when I've been at work at 7, to come home and do instruction for 2 or 3 hours. I'm exhausted. My husband works longer shifts than I do. My mom's doing the best she can. I'm also okay with what they've been getting. I'm happy with the teachers. I am not happy with how many days, or you can't even make days up. I even asked, could they make up a day? Could they jump on a Zoom? I was told no. So my kids are only gonna receive one day next week, and then another one day during the first week of February. That would be 6 weeks my kids only receive one day of instruction for the week. I am not happy with that at all. I've actually contemplated about putting my kids in private school for that very reason. I have 3 kids, 2 in elementary, 1 in high school. I'm not happy with the amount of time instruction that they're getting at all. And that's all I have to say. I just want y'all to reconsider pushing these holidays on the Friday. I don't understand why that just can't be done.
Thank you.
Next, we have Miss Misty Cole. And I think Miss Briggs is going to be reading her statement.
Hi, this letter is from Misty Cole. She sent a note that she would not be able to attend tonight, and so she asked if we would share her concern. Dear Isle of Wight County School Board, I moved to the area from Florida in November 2020 with my 2 children due to military orders. The administrative staff at both schools were a tremendous help during our transition, and their teachers have been a joy to work with. But this transition has not been easy on our family. Our school district in Florida was in person 5 days per week from the start of the school year. There was also a virtual option available, with a before-after-school program available as well, and the county continues to be in person despite having elevated positive COVID cases. There were several children who went into quarantine for possible exposure, but no more than I've been made aware of here in Isle of Wight. My children are struggling to adjust to their new location and school model as they've been unable to interact with other children due to, in my opinion, overly cautious limitations imposed on them by the IWCS district. The research does not show that the current hybrid model is any better than a fully in-person model, and frankly, the current hybrid model places a bigger risk to the children and educators. In speaking with numerous teachers, administrators, and other parents within my district, many are still perplexed as to why this district is not back to full-time in-person teaching. Many are desperate to return, and many parents are seeking other options, such as private schools that have offered full in-person learning since the beginning of this school year. I think it is time the board conducts a survey of the parents and educators within the district to allow them a voice in this matter. Parents have lost their jobs, had to quit their jobs, or significantly reduced their hours to accommodate their children's virtual learning, thereby placing an undue financial burden on families, which will lead to detrimental impacts on the well-being of their children. This, in addition to the lack of social stimulation and actual engaged learning, will have a long-term effect on our children. COVID containment is not going to occur within the next few months or even within the next year. How long are we going to punish our children? COVID is not their fault. They aren't responsible for the lack of social distancing, lack of face mask wear, or the irresponsible actions adults make, but they are getting the brunt end of the pandemic. I urge you to consider and actually research the impact the current hybrid and virtual models are having on the families, students, and educators of the district. I've watched my children's teachers struggle to engage their classes. They are losing their love of teaching. I've watched other children during Zoom classes play video games. They are not stimulated. I continue to receive messages from teachers and principals addressing the lack of attendance and/or engagement of the children. Parents are tapped out. If not 100% back to in-person, let's explore other options that provide relief to families and the children. I propose a one-on, one-off model with the option for parents who want to keep their children virtual to remain virtual. The one-on, one-off model was implemented within the military community to mitigate exposure at the start of the pandemic and still continues to be a successful strategy. My proposed model is attached with a list of benefits, not to be privy to the available numbers of teachers and students per school. It is impossible to show numerical figures, so the attached can serve simply as a foundation to build upon. I appreciate you taking the time to hear my story and reviewing my proposal. And once again, that was from Misty Cole, and I was looking to see if it listed where she lived, but it doesn't. But I believe you have copies of her remarks and her proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
And there's nobody else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is board member committee reports and information. Does anyone have any committee reports? Okay. Well, I'm going to share some information. At this time, the school board would like to provide the public with information concerning 2 lawsuits filed against the Isle of Wight County School Board towards the end of the year 2020. This is detailed, but please understand that we want to be completely open with the public. First, in late September 2020, a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit was filed against the school board alleging our motions to go into closed session were not sufficient and that we were not communicating our monthly school board meeting time correctly. Of course, we looked into the allegations and found our online posting communicated that our monthly meeting started at 6:00 p.m. Now, to be clear, the school board has always convened its regular monthly meetings at 5 p.m., after which the school board moves to go into closed session. We did a little history check to help us understand the cause for this mistake in our online posting. So it's my understanding that in early 2016, the school board received comments from members of the public expressing concern that they would arrive at 5 o'clock at the meeting, but the school board would go into closed session and they would have to wait an undetermined amount of time before the school board would reconvene for open session. Parents expressed frustration in rushing to get to the meeting with their young children who were anticipating their Eye on Instruction presentation, only to sit and wait for the closed session to end. The school board agreed to open the meeting at 5 p.m., go into closed session as usual, and then reconvene the meeting at 6 p.m. to help address the concern. And this may have caused the confusion about when the monthly meeting actually began. But our posting was wrong, and it was quickly corrected to clarify our monthly meeting times. And just know that the recordings of these meetings always began at 5 p.m. Also, in reference to this litigation, we continued inquiry on FOIA requirements concerning our motions to go into closed session. Rather than engaging in litigation, the school board agreed to enter into a consent order which affirmed that the school board would always comply with the requirements set forth in FOIA, something that we have always and continue to endeavor to do. Soon after this consent order, the Virginia School Board Association posted that they were offering a new, first-time FOIA training for school board members to include the crafting of motions to go into closed session. Now, to be clear, Dr. Thornton has always recommended our motions, and when he felt needed, he received counsel from our school board attorney. But the school board is ultimately responsible. When I saw this training, I immediately asked Tracy, our school board clerk, to plan and schedule this training for our school board, our superintendent, our school board clerk, and Lynn Briggs, our FOIA representative. Before this training could be completed, we were served with a second lawsuit. In early December 2020, a lawsuit was filed against the school board and individual members alleging that we knowingly and willfully violated the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. We deny any knowing and willful violation of FOIA. However, we have learned that some of our prior motions to go into closed session were not sufficiently specific, and we have taken steps to ensure that our motions to go into closed session are more detailed moving forward. In addition to the training required by FOIA, and as stated earlier, we have scheduled additional training to be conducted by VSBA with emphasis on the crafting of motions to go into closed session. Moreover, for full transparency, we are implementing steps that go beyond what FOIA requires. For example, since 2018, we have posted a link called Board Docs on our website that provides the school board agenda and other meeting information for you to access almost a week before the meeting date. Now our personnel reports will be made available to the public before we go into closed session, unless doing so would interfere with the hiring of potential prospective candidates for employment. In addition, Copies of the personnel report will be made available to those in attendance contemporaneously with our vote on the personnel report. With regard to the pending lawsuit, rather than continuing to engage in litigation, which would unnecessarily consume more time and money, especially during this unprecedented time, we have agreed to resolve the case through a consent order. The consent order affirms that we will always comply with the requirements set forth in FOIA, again, something that we always and continue to endeavor to do. Now, I personally want to say that being in this seat is a huge responsibility, and it's one that is not taken lightly. And I cringe at the thought of making any kind of mistakes. But if we do, and when it is discovered, we will always make sure it's corrected and then learn from it and move forward. Folks, we spend hours upon hours in school board meetings, committee meetings, answering emails and phone calls, reading VSBA daily bulletins, going to trainings, etc., etc. And it is not for the $5,000 annual salary that we receive. The dedication and the commitment to our school division come from a heart and love for kids and the community that we serve, and the deep desire to be a part in seeing that our schools get better and better for our children. Dr. Thornton, this will be a good time for you to share with the public how they can access information from the information that I referred to in our statement.
Yes, Madam Chair. So one of the things that we've added was if you go on our website and go under the board tab and click on minutes, in the past you would see meeting agendas and minutes, and you would see school board meetings, agenda and minutes, a link that you could click on, and it says beginning with September 2018, as you referenced, and that would take you to board docs. So in addition to that, what we've added to the website is a statement now, and I'm going to read the statement to share what we added, because it addresses some of what you talked about. So we've added to the website, the Wight County School Board holds regular school board meetings at 5 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month, unless otherwise announced, in the Robert C. Claude Senior Boardroom, formerly known as the Board of Supervisors Meeting Room, at the Wight County Courthouse. The school board will open the meeting at 5 p.m. and go into closed session shortly thereafter. Following the closed session, the board will reconvene back into open session at approximately 6 p.m. with the recognition of Isle of Wight achievers. Regular monthly meetings are also recorded and can be viewed on Charter Cable. School board meeting minutes can be found under the Meetings tab in Board Docs. Meeting minutes that are posted prior to 2021 in Board Docs are the unofficial meeting minutes. Official meeting minutes are kept in the school board clerk's office and can be requested. School board meetings from this point forward will be posted under the Meetings tab in Board Docs and will be the official meeting minutes. And so that's posted here in our website, and that same blurb is posted if you hit the tab and go to Board Docs. So we put it in two places to make it very clear where the public can get information about our meetings. And again, as you stated, none of that is required by FOIA. We want to do that to get information to our public, and for those who can't watch the meeting and just want to get to the meeting minutes.
Okay. And this link is on our website, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next on the agenda is the financial presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. I have a brief presentation related to our health insurance fund, and I wanted to give you some information on that. But before I do, I wanted to ask if there were any questions related to the reports in your packets, the facilities report, check register report, or the large ticket items?
No.
And I'll get started. Okay. And this won't take but a few minutes, but I just wanted to inform you of some information, because come July 1st, there will likely be changes to our health insurance plans. And this is as much for the board as it is for our employees, who are certainly insured by the division,
I'm sorry, when did you say there may be changes?
for July 1st.
July 1st, okay, thank you.
Yes. So we're planning ahead. So I'm going to start with your December financial report, but I'm going to focus on the health fund and look at the December 31st balance, because when I looked at it, something significant stood out to me, and I wanted to share that with the board. I want to look at the cost breakdown with that fund, what monies moved through that fund into it and then out of it, and define some categories. Components of a health fund. Certainly we have health insurance, but you could have a private plan, or you could have a self-insured plan. We are self-insured, so it's more important that we are managing those components as opposed to just handing it off to some company, say Aetna, who handles everything for us. We are self-insured. And then certainly looking to 21-22, what are our thoughts? I wanted to inform the board so that when the time comes, you're well-versed in the changes. I'm not sure if it's easy for you to see that, but that's one of the charts that's in your financial report. And I really only want to look at two numbers. The middle column, entitled YTD year-to-date, towards the bottom says $2,377,082, $2,300,000. And below that, you'll see the ending cash is $1.2 million. So on December 31st, that's how much cash we had in our health fund. To the right of that, $611,000, that's how much we had last year at the same time. So that's good. That's very good. Because what we'll find out later in the presentation, one of the components is called incurred but not reported, IBNR. When a person goes to the doctor, that billing could lag 2 to 3 months. So when we end a school year on June 30th, it'll take 3 more months for those costs that were incurred but not reported to flow through. So on June 30th, it's my responsibility to make sure we have enough funds in that account. We can't zero that out because many more bills will be flowing through in addition to the new current year's bills. So it gets complicated. So today, you can't tell for June 30th, but today we're in a much better position than we were last year at this time. And that's what stood out to me, and I wanted to point that out to the board. So money's in and out of the fund. Consider it a checking account. I call it a fund. So the monies that flow into the fund, and this is just 1 month snapshot. I looked at October, and I looked at all the categories of what flows into the fund. Now, from the fund's perspective, from that account's perspective, it's a deposit, it's a revenue. But from your perspective, it's a budgeted amount, because that money gets charged through the payroll process, it costs the budget, and then we turn around and we deposit that money into the health fund. So even though it says revenue, don't be deceived, it's really an expense to the board. So we put that money into the health fund. We have the employer's share, $358,000. That's your cost into the health fund. Based on what we estimate premiums to be, a family plan, we might say $22,000. An individual plan, we might say $11,000, $12,000. So we collect a month's share of that and we deposit those monies into the health fund. The employees, our faculty and our staff, they have a share. That comes out of a deduction from their paycheck. That costs the board when you pay the employees, but that costs the employee when it's deducted from their pay. So we have to be clear, the employees are sharing in the cost to health benefits, and that's October's share. Then we have a COBRA piece. There's retirees that contribute. We deposit those funds, and your total for October that went into that account is $503,000. And now the expenses to that account, the claims, paying the doctor's bills ultimately. So BPA is a third-party administrator. They write the checks for us. In finance, we don't write all these checks to doctors' offices. We get a report on claims that are due, and we pay one lump sum to BPA, and they pay the doctors for us. There's a health equity piece, that's their HSA, health savings account, that ultimately the employees choose to contribute, and that goes into their accounts. Delta Dental is paid, and i-Med is paid. So $219,000 in October were paid on doctor's visits. And then lastly, for different entities assisting us in the process, we have our administrative fees to i-Med. It's significant to BPA. I'll speak to that in a minute, and then Delta Dental. So the total admin fees is $87,000. But it's important to know under BPA, although we pay BPA significantly, a large piece of that, 3/4 of that, is for stop-loss insurance. Because God forbid we have a very sick individual or a group of people that exceeds a certain amount that we can't go beyond necessarily, we purchase stop-loss insurance. So a secondary insurance would pay additionally. BPA handles paying that secondary insurance on our behalf, so we pay BPA towards that. Here's the components. Certainly stop-loss insurance. We will pay about $750,000 in stop-loss insurance. What is stop-loss insurance? Today, the level is $125,000 per individual. So our fund will pay doctors for one individual up to $125,000 over a year's time. Once it goes beyond that, stop-loss will pay the balance. That's an individual stop-loss. We have many individuals that are insured. So there's also an aggregate stop-loss, and that's about $4.7 million. So once collectively our fund has paid beyond $4.7 million, stop-loss will pay the difference. It's a great benefit, and it's very costly, and we need to have that to protect the board and to protect our insured employees. Third-party administrator claims. We certainly don't have the means to pay all the doctor's bills out of finance. I wish we could, but we just can't do it. So we will always have a TPA or third-party administrator that pays the claims on our behalf, and that's a cost to the fund. And then lastly, insurance carrier, which is like the insurance company. That's counterintuitive. Let me say Aetna for a minute. If we had a private plan with Aetna, our employees would go to the network of Aetna doctors. But we're self-insured. So what is our network of doctors? Well, what we will do is we will contract with a carrier, even though we're self-insured, and our employees will go to the network of that carrier's doctors. So it's on us to try to get the largest network possible so our employees' doctors fit within that network. So it still does make sense to talk about an in-network versus an out-of-network situation, even though we're self-insured, because we will partner with some carrier and contract with them and use their network of doctors, and their doctors will charge us that carrier's rates. So those are the main components. Planning. We did with an assistance from a consulting firm, we put out a request for proposal because we want to see if there's any entity, whether it's Aetna, can put pieces together to assist us, or any other entity that would act as our partners in our health insurance fund. So the question becomes who put in and how do we select them? December 14th was the due date. We've received proposals from Aetna, Anthem, Optima, and United Health, and our current provider, BPA, Dr. Thornton and I need to have a conversation, is welcome to give us their new proposal for the upcoming year that we would consider a proposal towards this RFP process. How do we score it? So now that we have all these proposals, what's the best company? So our criteria will be, first and foremost, network of doctors. Well, who has the largest umbrella to protect our employees? Secondly, does the company have the staffing that we need? I don't know that we can have a mom-pop shop that's cutting all these checks to carriers. Our billing will get certainly behind, so we need a significant staff to pay the bills on our behalf. So we look at their staffing. Do they have an electronic system that works well with i-sle Wight Schools so that when we pay, there's a clean flow of payment? When we have a new employee, do they get an insurance card quickly? So they need to work with us from that sense. And do they have a comprehensive disease management program, which ultimately means they're partnering with their doctors with their prescription pharmacists to see if they have networks of professionals that can work, instead of as individual physicians, working together to service our employees. And that's how we would determine who's the best for Isle of Wight schools. So my hope is that come February, we can whittle down who we feel is the best, and I'd like to report out to the board in March, perhaps bring in the consultant to talk more details to see where we're on track for any changes come July 1st. So in a nutshell, that's your health fund. Expenses, are there any questions on the process or anything that I discussed?
No, but you did an excellent job explaining all of that. Thank you.
Very good. Shoot me an email, any questions you have, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible.
I have a question. I
Sure.
didn't know if you were, I thought you were going to go to something else. When you asked earlier, I had to look up to make sure. I wanted to find the check number. I don't know if you have the information available right now, but you can get back with me later. It's check number 34725. It was I guess you would consider it a small amount. It was under $100. It was $98.58, but it had fraudulent charge. And I was just wondering, if you're not familiar with it, it could have been something that happened prior to you coming on board.
Let me look into that
Okay.
and get back to you.
And because I was just wondering what happened, how did it happen,
Yes.
just curious, that's all.
Good question.
Okay.
So I'll get back to the
Okay.
board tomorrow.
I'm not in any hurry, but I was
No,
just
that's
wondering.
important.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. My pleasure.
Just in the past, I asked that same question. It was something with the credit card. You know, how things can happen with the credit card, so
Okay,
it may be
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to misspeak, but let me look into that, and I'll
Right.
get back to you quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is support services, and we're going to begin with the transportation update.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Mr. Cooprider found my microphone. So I'm up here with all my fancy stuff, but I'm not that fancy tonight. So we only
Got your
had.
pink tie on. You are fancy.
I
with
do,
pink
thank
tie.
you, thank
Yeah.
you. With only 6 days of service since I was up here before, not a lot to report, but you have what you have in front of you. One thing I do want to update you on versus what's printed there is I have decided to hold off on the mid-year in-service only because of the way things are. And we'll do something probably later on in the spring.
Okay.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is support services and operations full report.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Coleman this evening, and I think he has a short PowerPoint. You don't have the short PowerPoint, but you have it in your packet. It's only 2 slides. So first was the tree control. Just to inform you, Windsor Elementary School, if you're familiar with the interior courtyard, we had to cut down 4 trees, and they got very large in that interior courtyard and caused drainage issues. And if you remember the heavy rain we had earlier in the year, flooded the school.
Yep.
And so those have been removed, and we have fixed the drainage issues. And the other part of that was Smithfield High School, and they're in the process of cutting down 3 trees in the rear of the school, and that is due to our new solar project. So they were in the way of some of the solar panels, and so we've taken care of that. And the next was custodial services, and just an update over the break. Deep cleaning in all the schools occurred, sanitizing all desks, tables, cabinets, etc. They power washed all restrooms in the entire division. All division hallways were buffed and touch-up paint around the division. So they did a lot of work over the break, SSC, and making sure our schools are clean and ready for our students and staff as they come back.
Are they going to plant more trees at Windsor?
I'm not sure what the plan is there, but we probably need to investigate that, but investigate
Yeah.
a type of tree that
That's
does not
right.
grow as large,
Yeah.
or prune it every year. So, yeah, it got quite large, and the roots got into the drainage systems.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is the adoption of the school board code ethics. So you should have already looked at that, and we would need a motion to approve the school board code of ethics.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the school board code of ethics.
Second.
We have a motion, it has been second. We're ready to vote. Okay, the motion carried. Next on the agenda is the board protocols. You should have reviewed those. We would need a motion to approve the board protocols unless there's any discussion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the board protocols as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, it has been second. Time to vote. Okay, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the school board clerk's code of conduct. Should have been reviewed. We need a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the school board clerk's protocols.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, it has been second, and now we are ready for a vote. Okay, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the VSBA delegate selection and alternate. The current delegate is me, and the alternate is Julia Perkins. Usually it is the chair and the vice chair. So at this time, I would be the delegate, and then the alternate would be Ms. Denise Tynes.
Okay.
So we would need a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the VSB delegates are Ms. Carr as the delegate and Ms. Tynes as the alternate.
We have a motion. It has been seconded by Mr. Wilson. Okay, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the Finance Subcommittee. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is also the chair and the vice chair. Is that correct? That's the way it has been. Any discussion on that?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the two members of the board that are on the Finance Subcommittee are Ms. Carr and Ms. Tynes.
Second.
We have a motion. It has been seconded.
Ms. Tynes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the WHRO Board of Directors and alternate.
I would like to continue to serve on this board if possible.
Okay. Currently, Ms. Hulick is the representative with Ms. Tynes as the alternate.
That's fine.
Any discussion on this? Ms. Hulick would like to continue, and Ms. Tynes has agreed to be the alternate. We need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that I am I am the delegate for the WHR Board of Directors, and Ms. Tynes is the alternate.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion, and it has been seconded. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the CSEP, Joint Board and Governor's School for the Arts.
I can continue to do it if you want me to, but
Okay.
I have no preference for this one.
Okay, Ms. Hulick says that she would, who is the current representative, has agreed to do it, and the alternate is me. Anybody else want to do it?
No.
I guess I will agree to be the alternate, but I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that Ms. Hulick and Mrs. Carr will represent us at CSAP Joint Board of Governors School for the Arts. Mrs. Hulick is the representative and Mrs. Carr is the alternate.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded.
Whoops.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the Special Education Advisory Committee. I would like to recommend Ms. Tynes as the representative. I'm the current representative, but I would like to nominate you to be the representative. Anybody? All right, we have that.
Alternate.
I would put Ms. Carr as the alternate just because she's been on the board, so I feel like that would be a good alternate.
I will do that. So we need a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to make the primary representative to the Special Education Advisory Committee Ms. Tynes and the alternate Ms. Carr.
We have a motion and it has been seconded.
It's time.
I keep forgetting it.
Okay, motion carried. Next is the CTE Advisory Committee.
I believe that was my deal last year.
You want to keep it your deal?
And I would be willing to keep that good time.
Okay.
May I be her alternate? I'd be interested in learning more about that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Can I be her alternate? I would be interested in learning more about that.
Can we have two alternates? Because I was gonna recommend Mr. Wilson, because he's the one that
Oh, yeah, no, if Mr. Wilson wants it, he can have
Would
it.
you
I
like it,
didn't-
Mr. Wilson, or? Mrs. Hewlett wanted it. Did you want something? I'm good. Okay. All right. I just didn't want to leave you out, you know. I'm good. Okay, so Ms. Hewlett.
All right, so I need to hear a motion.
I would like to make a motion, Madam Chair, that for the CTE Advisory Committee, we have Mrs. Perkins as the representative and Mrs. Hewlett be our alternate.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and it has been seconded.
Who is the second? I'm sorry.
Mr. Wilson, second.
That's it. You did it.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the report from the superintendent, and we're going to begin with the gifted update.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Thornton. Dr. Thornton has asked that I share with you an update on where we are with our gifted plan. As Dr. Thornton shared at the December board meeting, we are beginning a comprehensive review of our gifted program. And although this board approved the 5-year plan in June of 2019, our focus on equity really compels us to take another look at that plan and to make sure that we're removing any barriers that might exist. Additionally, we want to ensure that we're working to meet the needs of all of the students that we serve with rigorous programming that will prepare them to be college, career, and life ready. So prior to break, we convened a research team of administrators, gifted resource teachers, and general education teachers to examine best practices and available research on gifted instruction. This team is going to receive feedback from two very important sources, our students and our parents, in order to create a new comprehensive plan. This feedback is going to come over the next week with focus groups of students at the elementary, middle, and high school level via Zoom, soliciting feedback about their experiences in the gifted program. And we'll also be working with our parents via the Gifted Education Advisory Committee to gather feedback on the implementation of our plan, which brings us to an action item on your agenda this evening. This evening, I'm asking that you approve the list of nominees as presented to serve on the Gifted Education Advisory Committee, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Gifted Education Advisory Committee nominees as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and it has been seconded.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Mr. Walters, how often will the advisory committee meet?
The advisory committee will meet 3 times per school year. And so as you've just approved, we're actually going to meet with them beginning Tuesday night. That will be our first meeting where we're getting the feedback from them, and then they will have a chance to provide feedback on the proposed plan that we'll bring forward to you. They'll provide some feedback, and then again, they'll provide feedback one final time before the gifted data from this school year is shared with you at the June school board meeting.
So we have a 5-year plan, right?
We currently have a 5-year plan.
What year are we in on that one?
This is the second year of that plan.
Okay.
But in working with Dr. Poland at BDOE, we're going to go ahead and restart our timeline
Okay.
by bringing this new comprehensive plan to you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said they were going to meet 3 times a year, and I was wondering, it's just me, if it was possible, if maybe that committee could meet 4 times a year, maybe at the beginning of each semester and at the end of each semester, and then you can compile, get feedback from them that way.
I think that's definitely something that we can consider for moving forward.
Okay.
And that may be something that we consider as a team in putting in the new plan that's developed.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the 21-22 calendar update.
It may just be me. It does seem a little odd to be thinking about next year, but we're very hopeful that things will be back to normal. What we typically do around this time, we put out a draft calendar, and last year we did a survey of all of our families and employees so they could provide feedback on a draft. So we just wanted to keep you updated that our plan is to have something going out next week that allows parents, community, students, staff to comment on a proposal for next year. In February, we'll bring you a draft to look at, and then in March, we'll have you vote. Right now, it's not looking like anything dramatic with changes, but we just wanted to give you some update, let you know this process is starting to get underway. And if you
Okay.
have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Ms. Tynes had mentioned last meeting, and then the governor reiterated Ms. Tynes. He's a frequent watcher of the Wight County School Board Meeting.
Yeah.
So she had mentioned year-round school. Is that something we are looking at with the calendar, as the governor has mentioned it as well? And is that just something you're going to talk about more when the calendars come out, or is this going to be an option going forward? That's my question.
Yep, good question.
So we have not looked at year-round schools as an option. That's a major shift, and a lot of research goes into that. I know the governor has mentioned that. He has mentioned it, but hasn't given any details, so we're not sure what that looks like. We do know with new CARES funding that is coming through, and I believe we'll talk about that more in Return to Learn. We will have an opportunity to probably have an extended summer school, but we usually don't put that in the calendar. That's usually separate. So as we evaluate data, we may be coming back with a very extensive plan for summer school and maybe some other options to the calendar.
Okay, thank you. That's all I want to know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Next on the agenda is the legislative priorities. When you open up the document, you can see that we have 3 legislative priorities. Number 1 is to hold school divisions harmless for ADM, or student enrollment, for the fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 22. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Thornton, but I understand this to be like, usually our data, we can use our data to help us determine student enrollment. But now with and that affects funding, but now with the pandemic, we can't predict what our ADM will be or our student enrollment will be. So we're asking the General Assembly to take action to preserve funding for our schools for at least the the fiscal years 21 and 22. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair. So we have seen over 200 students short this year. Other divisions have seen more. Some have actually seen, they've had more students come, counting virtual. So because of the influx, we are asking to be held harmless for that because that's substantial funding. And the governor's introduced budget does have a clause for hold harmless for the 2-year period. And we are hoping that the delegates and the Senate propose the same. So this, if you act on this, that will, we will write a letter asking for their support with this.
Exactly. Okay. Any more discussion on that? The second legislative priority is to remove the SOQ support cap, and that directly is connected to our support staff. And the way I read it, it limits the funding for the number of support staff for our special needs students, our at-risk, our English learners, et cetera. So we don't get the necessary state funding. So if we are to keep these support staff, then it comes out of the local. Is that correct?
Correct. And Madam Chair, this goes all the way back to fiscal year 10 and 12, the last major crisis we had, financial crisis. And so they reduced it by $754 million. And they have never returned that money back to the school systems. So we have been asking for this for years, and we are continuing to ask that they put that money back so that we can have the support positions that are needed.
Okay, legislative priority number 3 is to improve teacher compensation. The teacher salaries in Virginia lag behind. So we're asking that Virginia develop a plan to raise teacher salaries at or above the national average. So that, they are our 3 priorities. There's no more, did you have anything to say about that?
I was just going to say, we discussed that, I think at our last meeting,
Yeah.
some, the cost of trying to move our starting teacher pay scale to $50,000, which would move the whole scale more in line with what we're requesting. And I think I shared the cost would be $5 million if you did it all at once. So even if you did it in chunks, it would be about $2 million a year. And so what we're asking for is, that's not going to be possible for most counties our size that do not have that large of a tax base. So without the state's help with this,
Right.
we're not going to be able to achieve that. The locality can put their fair share, but the state needs to contribute to make this possible.
So these 3 priorities would be put in a letter and sent. We need a motion to approve the legislative priorities.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the legislative priorities.
Second?
Okay, so the motion has been made and it has been seconded.
And Ms. Perkins, you said you made a motion to approve legislative priorities?
Yes.
Okay. Did you?
And we want to include in that motion to send the letters to our Isle of Wight representatives. So could you do that again, Ms. Perkins? The motion to approve the legislative priorities
That we approve the legislative priorities
and send the letters,
and send letters to
the Isle of Wight County representative.
the Isle of Wight County representatives.
Second.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam
That's
Chair, I was a
okay.
bit sleepy there. I'm awake now.
And it's, it would, okay, all right.
Okay, the motion carried. Next on the agenda is the equity update.
That's you. All we have is a video, so.
Yeah.
It says your name on there, Mike.
I was going to say, I'm waiting for Mr. Lombardo to come on up here.
It does say his name, so Mr. Lombardo will perform.
Hello,
for us.
this is Dr. Thornton, Superintendent of Wight County Schools, and I want to announce an important addition to our team at Wight County Schools, Kiana Jones. Kiana is joining us as the Coordinator of Equity and Inclusion, a new position for the division. In a moment, you will hear from Kiana and learn more about her background and her plans for the future. In previous years, we have tried to implement strategies that would improve equity and inclusion for all students and staff. The board and I knew we needed more of a commitment to the issue than what we had been doing. We needed someone who could look at all of our practices through an equity lens in order to provide an environment where all individuals have an opportunity to succeed. This position will work with students, staff, parents, and the community on issues of diversity, including race, gender identity, religion, sexual orientation, disabilities, and other characteristics protected by law. There may be some in the community who don't see a need for this position. On the surface, it may seem that way, but I imagine many of those people who feel that way don't find themselves identifying with any marginalized groups. I'm excited for you to meet Kiana and learn more about her plans for the division. At this time, please help me welcome Kiana Jones.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Greetings, parents, guardians, students, staff, faculty, school board officials, and members of the community. It is my honor to be a part of the Olive Wight County School District community, helping to lead the initiative for equity and inclusion. The late, great Congressman John Lewis once said, "Take a long, hard look down the road you will have to travel once you have made a commitment to work for change. Know that this transformation will not happen right away. Change often takes time. It rarely happens all at once." He was correct. The journey to equity and inclusion is one less traveled and often avoided because it can be difficult to discuss inequities in race, gender, and social economic status. Thus, true transformation requires the collective effort of a community. The African proverb says it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I am grateful that me, my husband, and my children get to join your village and ensure that it's equitable and inclusive. It can be hard and feel discouraging when you're working so diligently on something you care about, only to feel that there is no real progress. However, Dr. Maya Angelou reminds us that success is not an overnight phenomenon. She said, all great achievements require time. The work that I have been called to do alongside all of you will feel like hard work, but in fact will be heart work that will require time. Building a diverse, inclusive community for learning, living, and working in the Olive Wight County School District is central to our district's vision, which is to create a learning environment that will enable every child to discover his or her unique gifts and talents. My commitment to equity and inclusion as a critical focus of my work will be evident in my dedication to the following. 1, to educate and empower our students so that they know who they are. They can embrace who they are and illustriously walk out who they were created to be. 2, to promote equity and inclusion in the classroom and beyond for students, teachers, parents, and all of those involved in preparing our students for a successful future. Our students need to see themselves and all of their history in our buildings and in their classrooms. 3, to help support our amazing educators who have been working so hard so that they can have the tools to feel comfortable to have courageous conversations and create restorative learning environments. 4, acknowledging the fact that racial injustice exists. But in solidarity, we together can ensure that it does not prevail. 5, uplifting and inspiring our parents and guardians so that they know that we are co-creators in their children's masterpiece of life. And lastly, encouraging community involvement and the integration of respect, compassion, courage, and integrity into every aspect of our strategic diversity initiative. But these changes will not happen overnight. And most importantly, I cannot do them alone. Every last one of you, I need. I need you. That's right. I need you. I need you to walk with me, to talk with me, to be courageous with me and Dr. Thornton and all of our staff and faculty for our children, for our communities, for our county. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "No work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence." Whether your contribution to equity and inclusion is big or small, it is a contribution that I am willing to value and celebrate. Let's just do it together. Yes, let's do it together. And I am sure we will not only just see Dr. King's dream manifest, but we will see our children's dreams manifest too. Join us tomorrow for our MLK Day celebration video honoring Dr. King, his legacy, and his dream. I am Kiana Cox-Jones, and I send you this video in solidarity. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair and board members, you heard we will have a video posted tomorrow to celebrate Martin Luther King Day on Monday. And Ms. Jones' first day is actually tomorrow.
Okay.
And so she's been working with David and staff to create this video. And I think it's an excellent way to kick off Martin Luther King's birthday celebration. And I think you'll enjoy the video. And I think it's a great way to kick off what we've been planning for the last year and a half or so, and really tackling equity and inclusion in this school division and in this community. And I think she made great points. It can't stop with the walls of this school division. Her work is going to go into the community, and it's a very important job, and I'm pleased to have Kiana Jones on our team.
I look forward to meeting her in person.
Yes. Dr. Thornton, you think it's possible that we'll get a copy of that particular video?
So that's going to be posted this evening, correct?
Yeah, right after the board meeting.
Well, that's going to be posted with the entire package.
It'll be out tonight, right after the board meeting, on all social media platforms as well.
Just that video?
That video.
Yes.
Okay. It's not going to be part of the package, agenda package? Because then we would have to go through all of that to find it.
No.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. So what tab will it be under so people can easily find it? Put you on the spot.
We will have it linked on our main website, but if you also go to Wight County Schools, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram,
Okay.
it will be linked off of those sites as well.
Okay.
And we'll do the same for the MLK video, which will come out tomorrow.
Okay, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the return to learn virtual and in-person numbers.
Good evening. Oh, is this one? Is that working? Okay, sorry. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Thornton. I'm going to share several things with you tonight, but I'm going to start with the second semester update that you requested last week to take a look at numbers. So I'm just going to go through each school, and you're going to see the first semester numbers as well as the second semester numbers beginning February 3rd. And you'll see each school, the in-person continuum students, as well as the virtual students. What you're going to see in every school is that there is an increase in in-person continuum students. So there's Carrollton Hardy has a large increase of 60 students coming back to in-person.
Could you go back to that one? I don't know why I want to write this down.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to go back to Carrollton?
No, I got
Could
that
you
one.
email this to us
Could
as
you
well?
email it?
after?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then,
Absolutely.
then you don't have to like, yeah.
Absolutely.
I was
No
doing the
problem.
same
So
thing.
now you can just go on.
Okay. Yep, no problem. So Windsor Elementary, and again, increase in person. Carsville, small increase in person. Smithfield Middle, 77 returning. Georgie Tyler, 43 returning. Smithfield High, almost 100 students coming back to in-person. And Windsor High with 41. So again, there are students returning to in-person learning in every school. So let's talk about secondary, because secondary is a little bit easier to transition. So the teachers are already teaching both in-person and virtual students simultaneously. That's already happening right now. Many of our middle and high school students, they begin new classes second semester, so they're already changing their teachers second semester. And in addition, students who are in year-long middle and high school courses, they're going to be able to keep their same students. So if I'm a virtual student and I am returning to in-person, I'm going to keep my same teacher second semester that I've had the whole year, okay? It gets a little more complicated with elementary, and so we're going to talk through that, and we're going to share some scenarios with you and some of the dilemma that we faced. We walked through every school, every elementary school, every grade level. We looked class by class to look at what is the impact of taking a fairly large number of students who are virtual and having them transition back to in-person. We looked at a lot of scenarios. We brainstormed, we problem solved. I think we've come up with a good solution, and I'm going to share that with you. I ask that you just kind of let me walk through it and kind of get to where we are now, and then we can certainly talk about whatever questions you have. Keep in mind, there's no perfect solution in this. As we have found the whole pandemic, there's no perfect solution. Okay, so elementary, here's a sample dilemma that we face, and this happened in every school, but this is just one little sample grade level. This is like a grade level where we had 5 teachers. You can see 2 teachers are in person. They have 17 students and 18. So that's in person every other day on that hybrid model. 3 of the teachers were virtual teachers, are virtual teachers. The first semester, you can see their class sizes. They had 16, 17, and 18 students virtually. Well, we've asked parents who wants to return. So out of those virtual classes, 6 students want to return from teacher 3, 5 students from teacher 4, and 5 students from teacher 5. They want to come back to in-person. So as you see, it's going to reduce those virtual class sizes for second semester. So we have 16 students who want to come back. Well, if we add those 16 students to teacher 1 and teacher 2, that's going to be a really large class. And this was like a second grade. That's a lot of little kids in second grade, right? And actually, it's over our class size limit for in-person. And it would maintain really small class sizes for virtual. So then we looked at, well, let's take the smallest virtual class, right? And let's move that teacher to in-person. So let's move teacher 3 to in-person. She takes the 16 in-person kids who want to come back. We take the 10 students who are in her virtual class, and we divvy them up among the other virtual classes. That will work. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, well, those 10 students who have been with that virtual teacher and are happy with that virtual teacher, they're not going to be very happy. They're going to be upset. We're upsetting what they have been used to, and you would be correct. So let's take a look at another example. Similar, but I just wanted you to see, we had to look at this grade level by grade level, school by school. So in this situation, 2 teachers, they have 21 in person, 22 in person. The virtual teachers had 20 and 21. So we have pretty, high class numbers for both of those. Well, for second semester, 3 students from teacher 3, they want to return. 7 students from teacher 4 want to return back to school. So we have 10 students. We cannot add 10 students to a class size of 21 and 22. It's going to be too many. So then we look at the same thing. Do we take a teacher, do we take virtual teacher number 4, move her to in-person, meaning she would take the 10 kids who want to return, and then we have to find another virtual teacher to take the 14. And again, we are really upsetting that consistency. So when you look at it school by school, to do what I just talked about, moving the virtual teachers to in-person and then reassigning those virtual students, that would be the impact school by school. So you're talking almost 130 kids, virtual students, would be reassigned. This does not include the students who want to return, because those parents have opted to return. They already know their kids are getting a different teacher. These are virtual parents that are not asking for a different teacher. So when we're looking at this, we have thought hard about it because we want to do what's right for kids, right? The easy adult answer is let's just switch them. But we want to do what's right for kids. We are trying to take a very student-centered approach in doing what's best. So in brainstorming, we looked at what are the other possibilities. And to say that, we already have our gifted teachers. They're teaching class. We've pulled those. So you kind of start looking at what staff do we have, who is actually even left in our buildings who we can pull. Getting substitutes, good luck. We can't find long-term substitutes. Not a good option. So we looked at the one resource we do have, and that is our instructional coaches. Now, again, there's no perfect solution. Our instructional coaches in our buildings have been instrumental in getting us up and running this year. I do not know how we would have done the virtual, in-person, Canvas without our instructional coaches. I really do not. So we value and appreciate all of that hard work they have put in. However, when we're trying to balance kids first, what's best for these 130 children who don't want to change, then we kind of have to come to the realization that we need to look at that resource, which is our instructional coaches. So if we pull the majority of our instructional coaches back into the classroom, this is what we can do. We can minimize reassigning those virtual children to, as you can see right there, we're looking at 21 students rather than almost 130. So, with that being said, that is what our plan is moving forward. We have met with instructional coaches today. We met with principals today. Our instructional coaches, they are a phenomenal group, and their attitude was, we understand, how can we help? And so they're going to be going to different places, and if you're one of those kids getting one of our instructional coaches, I mean, you've got a phenomenal situation because you're getting ready to have an amazing teacher. So we feel really proud and really good of this solution, and it's really going to minimize the impact on our virtual students. Questions?
I have a question. So when we're talking, when we're talking about West Side, 4th and 5th are more, just the 2 classes that switch off. Mm-hmm. Where 6th grade is more structured like the middle school. It's got more of a older kid feel there by hours. Mm-hmm. Did you see more movement when you were manipulating that 14? Was that more in the 4th and 5th where you had the solid classrooms? Or were you seeing that in the 6th grade? Because with the 6th, you can almost manipulate a schedule to have one virtual block and then... Or did you see it? I'm just trying to get ahead for, because I understand the elementary, they're all going to be one, 3rd grade and under is all one class, one.
Correct.
But 4th grade and 5th grade are split.
They are.
But that's an all-day split.
Yes.
And then 6th, though, you start breaking it up like the middle school, more like the middle school does. So how did that come into your decision making? And of that 14 or even that larger number, how much of them were like sixth graders that were looking at that board, or because you don't see that sixth grade number would be at Georgia G. Tyler, not in an elementary school.
So to answer your question, I think I understand what you're asking. We had the most students at Westside wanting to return from sixth grade. So it was close to 30 students in sixth grade wanted to come back to in-person. So what that did is it really disrupted a team. So we were going to have to look at adding a lot of students and then taking some teachers and moving them again to the in-person. It was very disruptive in sixth grade. The other was fifth grade. We have about 19 students coming back. So those 19 students in fifth grade will be able to stay as a cohort of 19 students with a teacher. Sixth grade, it's still going to be, they'll still be teaming like they were. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, I just know that in sixth grade, I just know sixth grade really well because that's where my oldest is. And so I know that she's got a history teacher, a math teacher, and then a English teacher.
Correct.
So it's not the same as like fifth, where in fifth and fourth you have English, social studies, math, and science. Where here they have science and history rotate. So that teacher would change either way for them.
That teacher's going to change either way for them.
But the math and the English wouldn't have had it been a normal year.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And we've been able to minimize that, so that will not happen. So the 14 here are going to be a combination of a few in fourth and a few in fifth. We didn't have to change anybody in sixth.
Okay, so you have consistency for sixth grade, and it's just the fourth and fifth at Westside that there may be one teacher or a few students that have to get moved.
It's a few students, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
But it was 48 originally.
I was, when you were giving numbers, I was like, I know for sure those are not Carrollton numbers with the 18 kids in a virtual class, because I know there's like 28
Yes.
and 28 or 30 in my kids' classes now, and so even if you took 10 kids out, you'd still have 20 or their early numbers in there. So yeah, no. So when I saw the 0 at Carrollton, I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Well, and so we didn't have as many students returning, and it worked out nicely that it wasn't in a large number in any one grade level. It was split pretty evenly among the grade levels.
Oh, that's nice.
So we were easily able to accommodate the students who want to return in the already existing in-person classes. It was easy. That was the only school that worked out that nicely.
And will we be contacting parents as soon as we know if they're going to be shifted and how it's going to work? I just really feel communication on this is going to be really important, because, I mean, the virtual students have been helping us socially distance and will continue to help us socially distance properly, even when we return to 5 days at some point.
So yes, so next week the principals will be evening out the classes. So, you know, these kids returning have not been an A day or a B day. So that will be done next week. They'll be adjusting that on the 25th, January, that's Monday. We will start informing students' parents of the teachers. So if they did get, you know, a coach, they're going to be informed the 25th that week.
But so there's only going to be 21 students between Carsville and Westside getting moved from a virtual teacher to a different virtual teacher.
Correct.
Okay. No, that's pretty good numbers.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Mrs.
Yes,
Getz, I have one concern.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have been getting communications from parents, emails, those type things. I'm sure all of us have, because they're full, you know, they're sent it to all of the board members. Their biggest concern, the virtual parents, what you just said, their children getting a different instructor. And if you have a child, a student that's already maybe falling behind, and then we put a new person in there for them that they have to learn all over again, it's just like the first day of school. Is it any way possible that some of your coaches could actually do the, they will put the coaches in the classroom, and those students that are with a teacher now, virtual, can keep that teacher and utilize the coaches in the classroom where it won't be a lot of changes?
Yes, that's an excellent point. And having the consistency that has been the forefront of what we were trying to do.
Okay.
Maintain
The number, right,
consistency
okay.
for particularly our little children. You know, they haven't been in school all year. So with this plan, with the instructional coaches, we will be able to do exactly what you just said. We will be able to keep virtual teachers the same. The students do not have to change virtual teachers. The only kids that are changing are the ones who are
that
coming back.
Gotcha.
You got it.
Okay, good, because that was the biggest concern of majority of the parents.
Absolutely.
Right.
We heard that as well.
Okay, thank you.
So were there any particular teachers that have such a low number of students that you're like, oh my goodness, you know, like one teacher that might have 5 students, or, because I mean, I was looking at those numbers at the beginning.
We don't have any virtual teacher that has that low of numbers. We have, I think the lowest was maybe 9. They'll be left with 9 students. So what we will do is we will have that teacher teach virtually those 9 students, and then when they are not occupied, they're going to push in with some of the in-person kids, because those numbers, they are higher. You know, they might be 20, 21. So that teacher can then go assist another colleague. So I think we can make it, you know, work.
Sounds like a great plan. Sounds like you've done a great job planning that.
I think that our team, I think we really were able to put together a plan that really is what's best for our students in the end.
So, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I just want to say this presentation looks easy, and I want to commend my staff who were putting students first and consistency of instruction, and this took hours upon hours, like a huge jigsaw puzzle, to try to make this work, and hours of frustration to try to make this work. And we have utilized everybody we can. Gifted teachers, instructional coaches now. I don't even know if the community is aware. We started the school year down 5 positions in one grade at Westside, 2 at another grade at Westside. We haven't filled those positions. So what my instructional team does has been magical. And I know people are concerned about the amount of instruction. We went through all of that at the beginning of the year. I get just as many emails, and I know Susan does as well, and our principals, that we're giving too much work to our students and back off. So it is a balancing act that we look at every day. It is a huge challenge in the pandemic, and I'm proud to say our staff is doing everything humanly possible to serve our children in the best way, both instructionally and safely. And I'll apologize for this. We are not going to meet every individual's expectation. And I do want to remind the public, this is a major pandemic that my staff and all staffs have gone through since March of last year, and it is not over. And there's a lot of fear. We're starting vaccines again. There's just a lot out there, and I just want to say it publicly. I am blessed to have the staff that I have. To pull off 21 students in a school of 5,000, thank you so much.
I have a correction. Dr. Thornton, you just said we're not going to meet every individual's. I want to correct that, because we are here to try to meet every individual student's needs. And so I just want to correct that. We're going to do it. We may not be successful, but we're going to start out trying, okay? Because it's a team thing. We all have to work together, as well as the student. And the student could be the one to back off, but we're not going to back off of that student, okay? Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that. I didn't say we wouldn't meet our children's needs. I said we will not meet every individual parent's expectations of what we can provide.
Okay.
I think we are doing everything we
My
can to
correction.
provide.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Alrighty, so I also have the next little piece of news, which is great news. Vaccines are on the way. So we've been in communication with VDH this week. Vaccine is on its way, hopefully next week or within the next 2 weeks. Our staff will be vaccinated for the first dose.
We have a number of actually all of our nurses are getting vaccinated. I got several pictures today of our nurses getting vaccinated for their first dose, so that's really exciting and they're thrilled. So we have, just to let you know what our process is, we have sent out an email that you may have seen where we are asking staff to sign up. If you want the vaccine, you sign up. It then prompts us, those people who sign up, we enter them into a system called VAMS. Once we enter them, each individual will get an email and register for the vaccine and where they want to take it and given a date and time. So that we're in the process of that. Right now we're collecting the who wants to be vaccinated, and then we will be loading them into VAMS. It is the Moderna vaccine, in case you're interested, 2 doses. So yeah, we're excited to get this underway. Questions? Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Getz, for those of you that may be a little apprehensive about getting the Moderna, I've already had part 1, should be getting part 2 in about a week or so. And just turn your head, you won't feel anything, okay? I did not have any side effects. I understand some people had it with the Pfizer, but with the Moderna, I did not have any side effects, but then that's up to your DNA. Okay, and like I said, it was a breeze. Just turn your head, you won't know anything about it.
Good. I think we're all anxious to get back to normal as soon as possible, right? All right, and then the last thing I want to share is, this is hot off the presses, and I think you may have copies.
Yes.
So this is the latest and greatest guidance from VDH and VDOE, their collaboration. This is guidance for schools. And so if you just want to look, and I'm not going through this whole thing, I'm just going to point out a few things. If you look on page 3, and it just kind of starts with the guiding principles and what school divisions should consider when looking at opening to in-person versus virtual. And, you know, there's the guiding principles, really, if you look at them, you know, support in-person learning. That's number 1. So the goal is in person when we can do it safely. That is the number 1 guiding principle. And so I think that's where our focus has been. It really encourages divisions to look at some factors. And looking at those, it is mitigation. So what are you as a school division able to implement and do it appropriately? So it's implementing the mitigation. What does that mean? Well, it's all the things that we've been doing. Wearing a mask, we are doing that diligently in all of our schools. Socially distancing, again, that's 6 feet, we are doing that in all of our schools. Washing the hands, yep, we got it checked, encouraging the students to do that. Cleaning and sanitizing, hello, we've seen that, right? And then contact tracing. Now, let me say that we take contact tracing very seriously. And when we have cases, we go through all of the steps. We go through, has that individual been within 6 feet of an infected person for a total of 15 minutes within a 24-hour period? That is what we do. And if there are people, we send them home for 14 days. We take a very conservative approach. If there is a doubt, we send you home to quarantine. We do that, and it's working for us. Okay, so you look at those. What is your ability as a division to implement mitigation? You also consider what is the level of impact in your school. And what they encourage, if you've been in person, you use that data. Well, if we use our data from September 8th, what is our level of impact? It looks pretty good. We have not had any transmission from student to student, teacher to student, student to teacher. We've done a great job. We have not had outbreaks where we've had multiple students infect one another and we have to send them all home. That hasn't happened. And we've had students here since September 8th. Very few divisions can say that anywhere in this area. Okay? So we feel really good about our data and what we are able to do to mitigate. Now, you also take in consideration the transmission in your community, which it's high, we know that, right? As well as the positivity rate. But you don't look at any one thing in isolation. You look at them together and consider what has our data been. So in doing all of those things, and that's what we talk about. I mean, we talk about this constantly, where we are, what does our data say? So what DDOE and DDH has recommended is looking at all of these things together. You don't look at any one thing. So you don't just take your community rate and say, well, that's at such and such, we're going to close to in-person. That is not the recommendation. It's looking at all of it together. Dr. Thorne, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I'd just like to add also nationally, we know so much more now from last March till today, and even the doctors, as we have all watched the news, have changed their views. And right now, CDC and all of the national doctors and information, schools are one of the safest places to be. And so that is why we've been open. And I think this really came out for Virginia, and I think other states are looking at information like this, is because so many have not opened yet. There are many schools in the state of Virginia that have not opened since last March. And I think there was confusion to only look at those metrics that we've shared with this board, and that when you're red, we panic, let's close. Red is a bad color usually, alarm. And so I think this clarifies, that's a secondary indicator. Do not ignore it, watch it carefully, and especially once you've opened, you've gathered data. And so it really helps inform our decisions. I went to remote for the first 2 weeks, and I did that based on science and data. I looked at after Thanksgiving, even internally, we did have more cases than we've had any other time. We knew in the community we had a rise in cases. So knowing that we were going to have winter break, it was apparent that we were going to have that. So we basically said, and I know some people got upset with this as well, but we basically used these 2 weeks to self-quarantine our community and then get back. So we passed those 2 weeks. We are coming back. And as we move forward, I do want the community to know we look at this every day. The data, the internal data, we have discussions. And I've said again when I met with principals today, as we look at data and if we do have outbreaks, I will close a classroom without warning. And I know that's hard for the public too. You got to consider it like a snow day. If it happens that fast, I'll have to close a classroom or a school or the division. But at least we know now how to transition in and out. We know what that schedule looks like. Again, I know the challenges that our parents are facing when they have to provide then their kids home. What do I have to do? And I have to go to work. So we look at all that and take it very seriously. And I just want to say, as we finish the semester, we are looking at, like some of the other divisions who have been open since day one, like we have been, we're still looking at returning 5 days a week. And when we feel like that is safe and we have everything in place, the vaccines will help, we will be moving in that direction.
And the last thing I'll just add is, we have to keep each other safe. And so just any parents who are listening, reminders again, students who have, symptoms, which can be the runny nose, sore throat, cough, doesn't have to necessarily be a fever, but we need you to keep your child at home and get them checked out. That's the only way we're going to keep each other safe.
I'd like to add one thing. I think Ms. Tynes has said this before. I know we've talked about it. Ms. Getz said we haven't had the student to student, the student to teacher, teacher to student. What we have had is adult to adult. And we talked about that today. Adults in the building do not eat lunch with each other. Do not get within 6 feet of each other. There's no reason to. We have plenty of places to meet and you can stay 6 feet apart and wear that mask. We do it every single day. You do not have to be within 6 feet of someone. Adults do not have to be there for any reason. So we shouldn't have to quarantine adults. And I will say, I'm emphasizing that so much because that's who has been affected. And we came close to having to close Carsville. And that's because if teachers go down and staff goes down, we can't keep the building open.
Right.
It's not so much the spread of students. We have to protect the adults, and we are adults. Please follow all mitigations in school and out of school. Be aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Good information. Next on the agenda is action on closed session items. First, the personnel report.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the personnel report.
Second.
Could we include the addendum?
Oh, Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the personnel report and addendum.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and it has been seconded. The motion carried. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the consent agenda, including the meeting minutes, donations, and financials.
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and it has been seconded.
Ms. Perkins, could you repeat the motion again for me?
I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
You need me to repeat?
And
Second.
The motion carried. Next on the agenda is board member comments and requests.
Madam Chair, I do not have any requests, but again, I would like to thank our team of staff members, inclusive, for their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to take the opportunity to welcome our new liaison from Smithfield High School to the board. I think she will be a great fit for this role, and I'm so excited to work with her. I'm also excited to welcome our equity coordinator because I'm so excited to get high school students especially involved in the equity initiative with a equity action committee where we interview students, younger students, each other, and just share our experiences, analyze policy. I'm just excited to welcome students aboard onto this initiative.
Thank you, Leah.
Yes, I would like to thank everybody for being so welcoming, and I'm really excited to be a voice for my peers to the school board and school board's voice to my peers in turn.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, the meeting is adjourned.